lifelong interest in healing, Dr. Linda Salvin pursued an advanced degree in epidemiology. Then, after dramatic near-death experiences, Dr. Linda saw the other side and returned with gifts of insight, visions, and revealed wisdom. Now those gifts are ongoing, and she's here to share them with you. Get ready to be amazed. It's time for Dr. Linda Salvin's Psychic Solutions podcast with America's original radio psychic, Dr. Linda Salvin, offering up her always fascinating blend of psychic psychology, clairvoyant insights, and expert guests and alternative healing methods. So pull up a chair and get ready for a visit with the one and only Dr. Linda. And now, live from Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Linda Salvin.
Welcome back. I'm looking at the camera trying to figure out where to look because I'm never in alignment, folks. I'm Linda Salvin. I have a PhD in metaphysics, a master's in epidemiology, and the state of California does not want me to define myself as a doctor anymore because in the state of California, you're not allowed to be a doctor if you have a PhD, which I have no idea why that exists. So for right now, I'm Linda. I'm just Linda, and I'm the host of Psychic Solutions podcast every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here on your local network or platform, wherever you're listening, downloading, or watching. So today I'm bringing back my two friends, Don Wilson and Mindi Miller. And Mindy's having a few technical issues getting online. And we're going to be talking about Elvis Presley again and his 5D Ascension into spiritual studies. If you watched the show a couple of weeks ago or downloaded, you will have seen all the technical difficulties that we were having. There's plenty of websites out there. But the website that I want to refer to right now talks about the different, let's see if I can bring both up at the same time without really interrupting the camera. There's technology is acting up around you is one of 6 or 7 different points that this person writes about, whether it's animals, if it's songs, if it's cars, if you're seeing symbols, totems. I've taught this for 30 years on the radio, but this one explains it. Technology is acting up around you, just as astral events can cause technological disruptions. We're looking at Mercury retrograde, for example. Cosmic messages from the universe can cause our modern communication wires to get crossed. Someone might come up in conversation, you notice technology starts to act weird around you. It could be a sign that potentially their energy is between us. So let's bring on Don Wilson. Don and I go back about 20 years, and Don knew Elvis when he was young, and he's known him through adulthood. And Mindi, did we find out if she's going to call in or what's going to happen with her?
Hi, Linda. Yeah,
Hi,
she called. Evidently, she called and went to voicemail.
I'm right here. I don't know.
Oh, there you are. Okay, now we can hear you. There you are. Okay. So, hi, Mindi. I know you're having technical difficulties, and I just read a passage from an article that another psychic wrote many years ago about spiritual interference from spirits from the other side. And I was just explaining that when we did the show last time, your feed was so bottled up, and we're going back and forth with the connection. But I believe it was Elvis's spirit coming in to toy with us to not quite have a successful show. And I did all the research in the last 2 weeks because I wanted to do it again. Now you're still having technical difficulties. He does not want you visibly on the show.
No, I came in twice before to make sure everything worked.
I understand that, but you're not understanding me. You're not understanding me. This is him, his energy preventing you from joining my show. That's why you can't log on. I just did the research. I understand this. Yes, it's not the first time. I've been doing it for 30 years. I've had spirits interrupt my show. I don't know how many times on AM radio, FM radio, internet radio. It just happens when I would try to channel or whatever. So let's see if we can get through the show this time. Now, Rebel has a picture of you somewhere, and we're going to put the picture up. So when you're speaking and you're part of the conversation here, the audience will be able to see your beautiful face and maybe one of the pictures of you and Elvis back in your days with him. So Mindi was one of Elvis's girlfriends in the 70s. Mindi has stories. There you are. So now we have all 3 of us. So the voice you're going to hear besides mine, people, is of Mindi Miller. And then you see and you will hear her friend and my friend, Don Wilson. We all have a connection on a spiritual level, metaphysical level, the woo-woo level, but they have a special connection because of the real Elvis Presley. Now, you know, there's a lot of conspiracies out there that he has 4 brothers and that not everybody knew the other part of the family and that other people did the performances. There's a lot out there, but I brought Dawn and Mindi up to tell the truth. So, Dawn, does Elvis really have 3 other brothers that are living?
No, of course not. And really, I don't really pay attention to all that stuff, you know, because it's ridiculous. You know, it's going back even when I was hanging out with George Klein and Richard Davis and Lucy DeBarman.
So it's not new.
No, back in the 80s or the early 90s, whenever Lucy DeBarman came out with her book about being the mother of a child by Elvis. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, George used to call her Lucy the Barbarian. You know, but she came into Alfred's one night on Beale Street where he was doing the show and everything, and I think he had, well, he just wouldn't talk to her because he said what he had to say. I just don't, you know, I don't pay attention to all of that stuff because it's just ridiculous. So, you know, I'm not even going to comment further.
No, you don't have to, but I just thought it was a good way to open the show and kind of pick up where we left off 2 weeks ago because we had so much conflicts. It actually became funny besides frustrating. So I want the audience to know why I've started the show with this statement about supernatural interference, which I'm very aware of, and I know that Mindy's aware of and you're aware of, and I can see a picture of Elvis behind you and with what you've got in your background today. Please tell the audience who's probably new, there are always new viewers, as you know, a little bit about yourself, your background, your father introducing you and blah, blah, blah. I know the story, but they don't.
Right. The Reader's Digest version, as George used to say. Yeah. Well, my father first met Elvis about 1955. My uncle had booked him in Houston at the Eagles Hall, which is like a VFW. And Hoot Gibson was on the show, the old silent cowboy star. Make a long story shorter, Elvis loved cowboys, and he was a little shy at the time. And my father took him over to meet Gibson, and then they struck up a friendship. He found out that my dad was friends with Gene Autry, the cowboy star, and it was on from there. Roll around to 1970. I'm a kid, and my father contacted Colonel Parker and arranged for me to meet Elvis backstage. Well, actually, at the Astroworld Hotel when Elvis was getting ready to perform at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo at the Astrodome. And so I met with Elvis. A little over a year later, in November of '71, my father and I went backstage in the Fort Worth, Dallas area and talked with Elvis. About a week later, I lost my parents and sister in a train accident. There was no crossing signals. And Elvis kind of took me under his wing and let me see him 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And when I was a teenager, he let me hang out with him. So that's how it all began.
Let's go back to the tragedy. I don't want to really dwell on it, but you were young. It's horrible to have been abandoned and orphaned. It's bad enough to lose one parent, but to lose both plus a sibling, I can't imagine. I can choose not to speak to a sibling. I can choose when to speak to my dad, but to be forced into silence or lack of communication, I can't imagine. I can't imagine the pain you lived with all your life. I do know, and we've talked about it, where you withheld the emotional pain for many years until your body almost exploded in pain and disease. And that's where I come in as a metaphysical healer, where I understand the suppression of emotion and thought. It's our liver, kidney, spleen, bladder, the stomach, the heart, our body. We're a system, like a car, where we've got moving parts. And that, at one point, you finally released it. And I'm sure with that cathartic event, if you want to touch upon it, set you free. But you didn't even understand. The doctors didn't understand. So you found somebody that understood the mechanism. Right.
Well, yeah, I lost him in '71. And in 1973, it was 2 years later, I was in school, and I I started crying and I couldn't stop. And my teacher was also a lawyer, and he took an interest in me, and tried to get some people to help me at it was a Baylor College of Medicine and psychologists and this and that. And I finally found out that the culprit was exactly as you said. I held it in, and because being a Texan, being born there and bred, it was like Texans don't cry,
Big
And
boys don't cry, right?
well, yeah, it was there. It's a whole different animal,
Is it? You got to
My-
be super macho and super cowboy and super I can handle the world.
Well, my father's brothers said, he said Texans don't cry. It was right at the funeral, and I just held it in, because, and I have a couple of Texas Rangers. They were uncles, so it goes far back, and so I held it in, and then because of me holding it in, I remember that the Baylor College of Medicine was really perplexed because my hands, my legs, everywhere, my lips swelled up. I looked like the Elastic Man, I could do like this with my lips because my body was reacting to me holding everything in. And it wasn't until, I let go that I was much better. Yeah, I developed a kidney disease. I still have a kidney disease to this day because of that time.
That's hard. That's painful. I had a similar experience when my grandpa committed suicide when I was 3 years old, and I had just witnessed 2 planes collide in midair. I don't remember. I think my grandpa died, then I saw the planes. I was in shock, and I held everything in. And my parents were told by the pediatrician, she wants to talk about it. She comes around, be quiet. So I always thought people were talking about me because I saw people shut up. But when you suppress emotion, we develop illness. Because ILLs, I lack love, diseases, dis-ease, the kidneys, that's how you filter. You've got to urinate. You got to process what you're eating. You got to defecate. You've got to have your blood flow. You've got to have your heart pump. You got to have your brain get oxygen and blood. It's all one system that God created in such a meticulous way. But when we shut down emotionally, that's where healing comes in from the mental, physical, spiritual, emotional level to free people. Thank God you discovered that. I do have something that could probably improve your kidney function. We can talk about it off the air. That would, like, in 90 days, you'd feel the difference, if not sooner. But you've gone through so much, like everybody. We go through life, but you learned young, Dawn. And on the other side of everything, you created a fabulous life for yourself. You threw yourself into the entertainment industry. You have hundreds of pictures with yourself with celebrities at events, at parties, at on the lot, whatever. I mean, you became the survivor and the achiever versus the total victim to your demise, And that's where you should always remember that no matter what life has thrown at you, you kept going. A lot of people would have checked out because I've worked with the families where somebody's gone, so they want to die. And, I hear all of it. I've been doing it 30-something years. You're the survivor. You're the light. You give hope. You keep going. You have pain in everyday life. We all do. We struggle. But you still got through it. You're still here. You're married. You're happy. I see you out with your wife in pictures all the time.
Well, I'm not married.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought that, isn't she your wife? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was your wife.
Yeah. But my faith in God is what got me through it all.
Always faith. Thank you.
I remember Elvis saying, "There's a reason for everything. There's no such thing as coincidence." And I believe that. And so there's a reason for me to do this. It's just like Elvis had talked about it to me. Because of the things that happened. He said, well, you can be a witness to other people who are going through the same thing and perhaps help them, more or less.
Exactly. And that's what I learned after the plane crash in 1981. There's a reason I went through all of that and took 2 more accidents and accelerating into the next dimension, which is where we're going to bring Mindi on now, because this is where it all ties together, because Mindi had that same experience with Elvis. Hello, Mindi. And the books that he gave her and the spiritual fulfillment. But Mindi's got a passion like I do and you do, and she teaches and she talks. I mean, she lives for spirit. spirituality. Mindi, introduce yourself. Welcome back to the show. And let's bring us up to date, kind of like the Reader's Digest version like Dawn just gave. Give a little background, and we'll bring up the picture of you and Elvis on the plane or in the car. Rebels got them. And we'll reintroduce. There we go. Well, that was you acting. But let's bring on Elvis. That's acting with, there we go. Ernest Borgnine, you were in a movie with Ernest. I went to school with his daughter, Nancy. But this picture is you and Elvis getting off of a plane. If you want to talk about that, say hello to the audience, introduce yourself, your spirituality, and go.
Hi, everyone. It's Mindi Miller, and I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry about the connection again. Which picture do you have, the black and white or the color?
No, this is the color with him. Now we've got the black and white, and we have the one in him in the red coat. We have both on the plane. You're in black with your long brown hair. He has the red coat.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I was asking is because the black and white picture where Elvis is coming down after me on the steps of the plane is when we were in the back of his bedroom in the plane in the Lisa Marie, and we had been studying and we had been reading the Bible, which you will see in his left hand, with the other books that he has there in his left hand, and those are some of his spiritual books that we had been studying and reading. So that picture means a lot to me because he didn't put them away. He kept them. And when we got into the limousine, we started reading and studying again. So anytime he had a spare moment, he was reading and studying and praying, which he did every time before he went on stage. He would go to a little corner by himself and he would pray to God to give him a great show for his audience, and for him to remember the lyrics, because sometimes he would forget. And usually once he got through the first song and he had said his prayer, he was okay to go.
Well, so, stop right there. Let me that I've never heard. I think that's wonderful. And I understand that. And especially to say, I'm getting chills. So he's here and that's the truth. Let me remember the lyrics, because not everybody remembers every lyric for every show on every stage that they're on. And I know how hard it is, especially with the number of songs he does and the dancing and the music and the band members. And I mean, it's all part of the show. And the fact that he would bring God into it. Do you know if his band members would join like his little prayer circle as well, that they all came together, Mindi? Or was it mostly Elvis?
Yeah. No, on many occasions he would get his band members together, and especially the Sweet Inspirations. And the Sweet Inspirations would surround him and they would all pray together for a great show. It wasn't every single show that he did that, but a lot of the shows he did. And then other shows he would go in the corner and just pray, with him, himself to God. And then when he would do his spiritual music, his gospel songs, he had always said to me that he likened that to the time that he was a little boy and he would get up in church and he would start singing, and he felt that he was administrating to his people in the audience as if it were the people in the pews sitting in the church. And if he could have gotten up and read from the Bible, he would have. He would have done passages, maybe from Song of Solomon, which he really liked that chapter, from Psalms, which was another favorite of his chapters. He would have done it. He could have very easily been a preacher, but he knew that his calling from a very, very early age was to entertain and to sing. And he felt that he was bringing God to his audience by doing that.
I love that. I always get choked up when I hear this, and you should be so blessed, Mindi, knowing you personally, this girl who didn't even know her father, where you came from, to finally learn the background of the history of your family, which I'll have you discuss in a moment of entertainment, but to have gotten into the inner circle like Dawn, of the true essence of this man, not the entertainer, not all dressed up in cool black clothes and glasses and jewels and the cars, the human being, the soul of this man named Elvis Presley. That's where I dig in people is, who are you? Who am I? What can we do to help? Like yesterday, somebody said to me, Linda, you've dedicated your whole adult life to helping people. And it's true. I've helped a lot of people, but it doesn't mean I became wealthy. There's no money in helping, you know that. But I have had a urge, a passion, kind of like an awakening after those 3 near-death experiences. I have had to do this. I've had to give back. The message is God. You have said it. Elvis has said it. Don has said it. Faith. Nothing happens by accident. There are no coincidences. Carl Jung talks about it. And we're not new with the theory, but what we get to do is continue to share and experience and educate those that still don't see or feel it. Mindi, talk a little bit about the background with your parents and how it led up that you met Elvis. Then we're going to talk between you and Don from the 5D Ascension.
Okay. Yes, I was adopted at birth, and my mother that adopted me was waiting for me to be born. It turns out very late in life that I found out that my father was a big character actor in Hollywood, and also he was a very big stuntman. Are you still with me?
Yeah, we're listening. Yeah, you're on.
Oh, okay, good.
I know.
I thought that somebody was coming through my phone. So he was a really big stuntman in Hollywood. His name was Dave Cashner, and he worked with everybody that you can possibly think of, from Barbara Stanwyck, Carol Burnett. He was the flogger in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He was known as the bullwhip man of Hollywood. He made all his own bullwhips. He was born in Poland. He was Jewish. My birth mother was Catholic. So I delved into both of those religions, and I was raised Christian, but I studied all different religions, from Zen Buddhism to Catholicism, Lutheran, all forms of Christianity, because I was extremely, extremely interested in the God of my understanding, and as to what happened with the church in the 1500s and the separation between spirituality and the church with the Pope. So
hey, stop right there. Let me interrupt you. I love this next question, and I know you have an answer, because I've gone through a similar thing. I am Jewish, but I've studied all these different religious beliefs. What have you found as the core 1 or 2 things that they all share? Because they do, but most people don't think so, because no, they're all compartmentalized. You're a Christian, you're a Jew, you're a Hindu, you're a Buddhist, you're a Catholic, you're a Lutheran, you're a this, you're a that. What did you find is the core here?
Yeah, religion is man-made. Yep. God himself did not write the Bible. And the fact is that we are all from one source. Yep. We will all go back to source. Now, one of the things that Elvis and I discussed a lot is that these are all different ladders. Buddhism, Zen, Catholicism, whatever religion that you follow, that someone chooses to follow, is a ladder. And we have all these different ladders. The point is, I don't care how you get there, just get there. Because we're all looking for that answer. We're all looking for that top. And the answer for me and for a lot of people has been that it's source. It is energy that never dissipates. And because energy does not dissipate, we will go back to source. Just as water becomes ice, ice becomes steam, and back to water again. It's the same principle that the analogy of the butterfly. When the caterpillar goes into its cocoon and it has that gestation period, just like a baby does in its mother's womb, it will come out as a butterfly. Now, is that butterfly a different energy? Is it no longer that caterpillar? How did it go from a caterpillar into a butterfly? It's an incredible thing that happens with that, because it is the same energy, but it has crossed over into another entity. And so the entity of living on the 3D, which is the physicality of this earth as we know it as human beings, we will cross over, which will be our energy, into the 5D. And there are people that are able to do that now while we are still here, because their feet may be on the ground, they may be grounded, in the earth, which is
Our
3D.
frequency is
but-
higher. Our frequency is on a different level spiritually. Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I tried to attain and what Elvis really worked hard to attain were the 7 different levels after the physicality. There are 7 levels. The number 7 is huge. God made the world in 6 days. He rested on the 7th. We have 7 days in a week. 7 is one of the highest spiritual numbers besides 8. And there are many reasons for that. So I always tell people and explain to people, especially when we talk in my spiritual group, which is a lot of Elvis people in my spiritual group. I do keep it small for a reason. And that is so that we can come together and learn from each other. We talk about different books we're reading. We talk about different periods in our life where we felt this or we had near-death experiences. Life after death, what did you experience when you came back? Did you go to Source? Did you hear that voice saying to you that you're not ready? You're not ready to cross over yet. So, there is no fear for me of death any longer because I now understand what it really is all about. And unfortunately, people are so locked into their Monday through Friday, 9 to 5
Yeah,
jobs.
they don't see the other side. No, and I didn't either. And that voice. No.
Yeah, they don't even think about it. They may go to church on Sunday. They feel that they did their quote unquote job. I get that. I completely respect it.
They're just not awakened and they're not enlightened yet. They haven't. They've been nudged, or they haven't had. They haven't been
right.
No, I get it.
It's difficult to explain to people that are not enlightened in that way what it's about, because it's like Elvis's mother said, don't talk about this because people will think you're crazy. And this is one of the reasons that he was so very lonely. He surrounded himself with a lot of people, but the people that he surrounded him with were not into this. And the only person that was Larry. And so a lot of people felt that Larry Geller was the outsider trying to take Elvis away from them and taking.
So it was all misunderstood when really they had a connection like you and Dawn who understood the feeling, and it's hard for the average person to understand what you and I are talking about. We'll bring Dawn back, and I don't want him just sitting there on by himself. But for example, when I was in the plane crash, I slid down the ramp and I heard a voice, which I'd never heard before. And then 4 years later, when I totaled the car and had the white light experience, the voice said, you can come with us now or stay and do. And I was given a message. That was 1984. The plane crash was 1981. I've heard these voices twice. It's not the same voice in my head on a daily basis, but I know that was something beyond. And in retrospect, 40 plus years later, after being on the radio and having a private practice and getting my degrees and doing spiritual work and communicating with the dead and reading people and healing people, I learned that I am on a different level frequency. I have a gift that the average doesn't, which is why people come to me. And the same thing with you, Mindi. They come to you because they know you have that gift. They know you have that energy. And Dawn, I think people gravitate to you as well because you have, and I'm getting chills for confirmation, that you have this portal, this energy of love. You can be judgmental like all of us, but there's still something that draws people to you, and you have the objective and choice, as does Mindi, as do I, just say, this doesn't feel right. This is who is my village. These are my people. This is who I get along with. Don't you go through that as well? You kind of find the portal where you can walk and where you can't spiritually?
Yeah, and I get vibes. That's what Elvis used to talk about, was vibes, And he says, you pretty much know, because Elvis could feel that, and then I can as well to this day. And I do want to say, I'll make another quick story here. Around 1974, I had surgery, and they gave me too much anesthesia, and I died on the table.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, I was above myself, and I was
out of body. Yep.
Yeah, but that was so weird because it was like I flipped, and I could hear and I could see, and then later I was like, how did I hear and see my senses? Because I wasn't in my body. I'm down there, and then all of a sudden, they brought me back, and then I felt it, all of a sudden, my chest was sore and everything. But I didn't see any light. I didn't see anything like that. And the only thing that I can think of is this wasn't my time to go, because I was in the room and I was just hovering. And I told that story to Elvis, and he just kind of shook his head, and he said, "I've heard things like that." I also talked about a preacher that had talked to him
He
about it.
confirmed it. That's when the soul leaves the body. It's an out-of-body experience. We can astral project at night and go visiting the world and different galaxies, or our friends, or have astral sex, and you feel it and you wake up, or when we're having in pain, like in surgery. Now, whether it was too much of the anesthesia that was putting you out, or the pain was so bad, whatever, you escape that soul that enters. I believe the soul enters the body when that kid starts crying, once they're, awakened upon birth. And the soul is the last to leave on that last breath. That's my opinion. I don't want to get into gestation periods and abortions and who's got an opinion. It's not what this is about. Spiritually, you have had spiritual experiences. The beauty of the internet is we can talk about it now. When you had that, there was no Google. When I went through it, there was no Google, right? And when Mindi was going through all this, there was no Google. We grew up pre-internet, which didn't hit to 1996. We're now 2024. It's easy for us to share our experiences and give hope. But back then, it was so taboo and hush hush and don't talk. And yes, like his mom would say, or my mom would say, quiet, people don't want to hear this. Or my sister made fun of me when I got on Psychic Friends Network. Like, what are you doing? It's like nobody understood. Okay. But you have proven, Mindi has proven, all those authors in the Bodhi tree and everything online with spiritual books and people talking about near death and past life and next life and this life, because we've experienced it. We don't make it up. It's not fantasy. It's not. It's either reincarnated energy. We've all been here before. The three of us, let's bring Mindi back. The three of us at some point in a different incarnation. It could have been pre-1930. Could have been 1910. It could have been 1800s. The three of us somewhere have known each other before, which has come full circle to what I call the soul circle, because of our beliefs, our connections, our ideas, our faith. Even though we're in three different cities, we are not sitting together physically, but we're connected. Right. We can tell the same kind of story. Mindi can explain things like I do with the same kind of spiritual phenomena, energy, insight, and experience. You share your experience, Dawn. What brought us together is Elvis. But Elvis, why I brought this on again, as you both have said, we are talking about the human being. His passions, his desires. Yeah, he's out there on stage in front of thousands all over everywhere. But he would sit in the corner, pray. He might have been lonely. He may have loved a lot, but he didn't really be in love. It's real different. You can have thousands in the Hollywood industry, as you know, all the glitz and glam, and go home and hide, be depressed, be lonely, be upset. People think just because you're out there, life's a piece of cake. I think both of you can attest it doesn't work that way, correct? Mindi.
Oh,
John.
Hell no. Oh, no, it does not work that way. Absolutely.
You've seen it firsthand. Dawn's seen it firsthand. Dawn, what's been your experience? I mean, you've been around the lights, camera, action. You've been on stage. You've been on film, but then you still go home.
Well, yeah, something that you said reminded me of this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. Elvis said, people criticize what they don't understand. And he wanted his fans to know what he was going through in his studying and this and that and everything. But of course, Colonel Parker didn't want him to do that, and he didn't have the internet. And I've talked to Larry Geller about it, and if Elvis had lived long enough to be on the internet, Larry believes that he probably would go on there. He'd probably be talking to the fans. But as far as being on stage and doing all these different things, I did in a lot smaller level than what Elvis did, but I experienced it. I mean, I made records, was on stage and so forth, radio and this and that. But then when you actually do it, it's a lot different than when you're growing up and saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. Once you're on stage, it's just like, well, did I connect with somebody? Did I do something that made them happy? Did I do something that gave them a spark or inspiration? Any little thing, just one little thing. And Elvis was like that. That's what he wanted to do. One time, many times, he gave things away out of his heart.
Scarves or cars or, yeah.
Right. One time he threw out this ring. I think it was about $100,000 worth of diamonds or whatever it was. But Larry Geller, I said, Elvis, that ring you just threw out, he said, it just came to me. Somebody out there needed it more than me. And,
that's an interesting statement. When I have been scammed, which I have in business, or I believe if I hire somebody, they're going to provide a service, then I realize I didn't get half of what I even paid for. Sometimes I'll get angry, but then I'll turn it around spiritually and I'll say, I guess you need it more than I do. You need this money more than I do. You turn it around. It's like selling a house on a spiritual level. A lot of my clients would say, I can't sell the house. I need the money, blah, blah, blah. Where's my family going to go? And I say, turn it around. Yes, you need the money. Yes, you want the equity. Yes, you want to relocate. Turn it around and say, I'm offering my house to the right buyer who will appreciate my house as much as I have. All of a sudden it changes and I'm just getting chills. It's simple to just turn it around. And before I bring Mindi back, just like her talking about the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, for 30 years on my website, on my infomercial, on my shows, in private practice, I repeat a Sanskrit poem that was written in 1200 that says, God, are you real? Because people have been questioning forever. It's people like you and Mindi and me that help others, not just in church, not as a rabbi. My rabbi said I should have been a rabbi. I said, I don't want to be a rabbi. I don't want to be controlled in a congregation. I don't want to be pigeonholed. But what I do teach people who are still trying to get the blinders off, like Mindi was saying, and there's those that don't hear or see or know yet, then I'll say the poem, which I'm paraphrasing, says, God, are you real? The child whispered, God, speak to me. And a meadowlark sang, but the child did not hear. So the child said, God, speak to me. And the thunder rolled across the sky, but the child did not listen. So the child said, God, speak to me. And a star shone brightly, but the child did not see. So the child said, God, show me a miracle. And a child was born, but the child did not know. So the child exclaimed, touch me, God, show me you're real. Whereupon God reached down and touched the child, but the child brushed the butterfly away and walked away unknowingly. What more do we need? It's proof, just like, okay, let's bring Mindi back. With the caterpillar to the butterfly, yes, we cocoon and we evolve and we grow. And my purpose is to help people grow. And your purpose in entertainment is also with your story to help people have faith and grow. And Mindi, with the trials and tribulations she's been through, she's turned it all around to help shine the light, to help people grow. That's the beauty of what the three of us have in common. And you two have something even more special, having known Elvis on the spiritual level, not just the entertainment level. You can all buy a ticket and go to a show in Vegas, right? But what happens when you're off stage?
Yes, I mean, I do my shows and I really want to do the spiritual shows now. Unfortunately, some people that are, promoters and run the venues feel that it would go over their audience, the audience's, head. And bearing in mind, they're buying tickets and they don't want their people to walk out. So I unfortunately really have to curb myself as to how I say things, how much I will share. I try to let people know that, yes, it will be a regular show of how did you meet? What did he buy you? Where did you go? Which, it's fine. But after 50 years, it actually is a bit boring because we all do know how generous he was and what he did give. But what people don't know and nobody talks about except myself and Larry is who was this man? What did he stand for? What did he read? Why did he read this? Why did he study this? What were his deep down personal beliefs? And some people don't care about that, unfortunately, Linda. They only want to know the rock and roll side of Elvis and what, jumpsuit did he wear on what date? And when you were coming off the plane, where were you going? Do you remember where you were going? What were you wearing? Why was he wearing a coat and you were, your arms were bare?
Right.
For me, I have to be honest in saying that I don't care. I really don't care. I fell in love with a man. I fell in love with a private entity. I fell in love with a soul. When he wanted to give me a car within the first 2 hours I met him, and I said, no, thank you, he was shocked. He then had the guys bring out one of his black boxes, which had 3 levels of jewelry, all rings. He said, pick one, pick 2. I said, no, thank you. I don't want any. He was shocked because nobody ever turned him down. He said, well, honey, I saw you drive up to the house, which was 144 Montevideo. And he said, the back of your car is all bashed in. I said, that's okay. I'll get it fixed. Well, that was the week I was going back to Europe because I had been living in Rome, Italy. And I think I must have met him on the 3rd or 4th evening that I was there when I was told that, there was a party from a friend of mine and you should really go. It'll be at Elvis's house. And I had had a premonition 2 years prior to that when we passed each other in our cars, and his energy was so enigmatic that I literally had to pull my Suzuki over to the side of the road with my girlfriend Carol in the car, and she said, what's wrong? And I said, we just, Elvis and I just passed, and he was in his black Stutz Blackhawk, and I couldn't believe the energy. I couldn't believe the energy, and it hit me like somebody literally hit me over the head, and I could not drive. And I turned to my girlfriend Linda and I said, somehow, some way. Now imagine, I was not a fan. I think I'd seen a couple of, I saw a couple of his concerts. My mother had given me a little 45 record. And that was about it. I don't even think I had an album of his, but I liked him. I liked everything about him. I saw his movies. But I said to her, I cannot tell you how, why, or where, but I know that I am not only going to meet this man, but I'm going to know him, and I'm going to know him well. And then I moved to Europe where I was modeling and acting, and I came back for that 1 week to close at my apartment, sell my car, take the rest of my clothes back to Roma where I had been living. And that was the week I met Elvis. And that's when he said to me, you can't go back. I won't let you. I want you to be my girlfriend. And that's how that started. And it was an incredible,
Okay, let go of the pictures.
First two dates, and then it continued.
And I have chills. And I want to thank Elvis because I know he's there with both of us, all 3 of us rather, but he's letting us talk in a different way. I think he made his point the last show a couple of weeks ago. If people want to Google it, that's fine, and go on my YouTube and find it because it was quite rocky. But today he's allowing us, and he knows we're not talking in vain and we're not putting him down. And I think he's beginning to trust me that I'm of the same cloth as you guys with this faith and this love of God and spirituality and near-death experiences and trying to teach and help and inform and educate and help people see that with all that's going on politically and all that's going on financially and all that's going on with hunger and starvation and poverty. And I mean, there's so much negative in the world. And we personally have had challenges in our families, in our jobs, in ourselves, in our schools, and whatever we're doing in life, even in a radio station, in a recording studio, on a modeling shoot. There are challenges. You don't just show up, smile, take a picture, and go out to lunch. You can't just sit down at the board and say, okay, let's get the show on. No, this one's late. This one's okay. We'll be okay. I'll see you in a few minutes. There's so much that always goes on, and everybody's like, oh, I got to pay the bill. I don't have enough money to pay the bill. Oh, I just got this changed. I got this citation. It doesn't stop. Once in a while, we have a free day of peace, and then the next day it hits. That's life, up and down, back and forth, up and down. It doesn't change. It's the journey. It's the faith that keeps us moving on. And sometimes it's as simple as a butterfly. Sometimes it's the Star of David or the everlasting light or a cross, or it can be a Buddha. When I was, 8, I said, Dad, what's God? He said, you want that tree to be God? It doesn't matter. find something outside self, like the mustard seed. Even as simple as a
Right.
tiny mustard seed. Start the trust and the belief. And I looked up those books that you guys, especially you, Mindi, had mentioned, the two books, one from England, which was written in the 1800s. There is one available online. I'm going to purchase it. And the other one is on back order. But please talk about the two special books. We've got about 5 minutes left. I want to wrap this up between the two of you. And I'm so grateful for both of you. I want you to know that, because this is Dawn's third and Mindi's third. You guys have been with me for the last couple of months, and I really appreciate you taking the time. It's not just fun and let's go get out there, because it's not, but the people that need to hear it do. Go on, Mindi.
The three books that I really, really loved, that Elvis really loved, and I think I mentioned them before, are Alice A. Bailey is her name. Alice A. Bailey, Bailey. One of is called The Rays and the Initiations, and this is a very heavy-duty book. I'd be happy to read a sentence or two from one of the chapters if you want, as to just the kind of thing that Elvis was reading. And this is called The Great Invocation, and it states, "From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which is called the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let life and love and power restore the plan on earth." Now, this is just a small.
I'm familiar with her books. I have one of her books, and it's brilliant. She's very philosophical, very spiritual, and very deep in the way she communicates. We've only got 3 minutes. I'm going to have to wrap up. But yes, the will of God will never lead you where the grace of God cannot keep you. It's simple. If people just understand to allow the light, to allow God, get out of the way. Just get out of the way. Let the day unfold. Go look for a butterfly. Go hug a tree. Pick up a book. Any page will tell you something. Any page that has something spiritual is going to give you the message for the day. Dawn, I'll be right back to you in a minute, Mindi. We got 2 minutes. Dawn, how will you like to close out here with everything you know and what you feel as to what might be your final message for today? We'll be back on the air again in the future, but right now this will be the end of this little trilogy.
Well, Elvis was asked the question of how do you find God? And the first thing that he says is be still and listen. And then he told this person to get into the Word. I still talk about Elvis many times in present tense. I still have his telephone number in my book.
Oh, I love that. Does he answer when you call?
Well, yeah, somebody else has got the phone number now, but I won't put that out there.
No.
But anyway, I have my memories of him. And it's like there's times where those memories from so many years ago are just like yesterday. So I still feel him around. He's
around. I can feel him, and I never knew him, but he knows that I know you, and now he trusts me, and this is cool. We got 1 minute. Mindi, final words,
Yes.
30 seconds.
Yes. How can the fact of the soul be proved? The soul has been satisfactorily disproved from the standpoint of academic science. However, with faith in your heart and believing and light and love, it always exists.
Thank you. I'm going to put both of you backstage. You both touched me totally into the gut, the soul, the light. It's in all of us. I want to thank everybody. This is Dr. Linda Salvin. I am the host of Psychic Solutions Podcast. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. This show is on 100 different platforms, and you can download it. You can contact me off there if you'd like a reading, healing, or channeling session where I open you up, just like Don healed the hard way when he was a child with pain. Let me help you find the light within yourself. Have a good day, evening, or wherever you are. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed Dr. Linda Salvin's Psychic Solutions podcast. You can reach Dr. Linda at 888-509-1077 or at lindasalvin.com. Need a breakthrough of your own? Ready for answers or insights nobody else has? Reserve your own one-on-one in-person chat. Dr. Linda isn't just for other people. Dr. Linda gets results for you. And it's easy. Contact details are on screen now. Just click on lindasalvin.com or call toll-free 888-509-1077. That's lindasalvin.com or toll-free at 888-509-1077.